Good afternoon. I am so excited about being here with Dr. Tim. How about we spend a little time today just getting to know each other just a little bit more? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself today. Last time Dr. Tim told you all about himself. What an awesome story that was. Hopefully I could hold a candle to that one. Here we go. As you guys know, this is the Ouch Doctors, and I'm Dr. Steve, and this is Dr. Tim, and we are both chiropractic physicians who are no longer practicing that art, but rather practicing the art of teaching people how to be healthy through the power of their own minds and through the power of lifestyle. So we've been trying to bring you as much as we could about the wisdom and the knowledge that we've gained over many years to allow you to take the driver's seat, to do it yourself as best you can, to live a pain-free, happy, joyous life, and to really go as far as you can possibly go. We want to encourage you, if you happen to be watching us on YouTube, to subscribe to our channel. All you got to do is push that little red button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and lo and behold, bang, you're a member of our community. If you're not watching us on YouTube, we would encourage you to start doing that. It's the New Thinking About Old Pain channel. And if you do that, you'll be able to find all the previous episodes in one easy place. And it's just a nice community to join. So start watching us right there on YouTube, and looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better that way.
Hey, and this is Dr. Tim, and I'm so excited to hear Dr. Steve's journey. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot about that today, and I know you will too. I'm excited about that. And stick around to the very end, because we're going to have my one big thing for today. Or is Dr. Steve going to do that? I forget. I had one. I don't know.
Okay, well,
we're just going to let it flow. So, and also we want to just make sure that we have an awesome free gift that Dr. Steve and I are so proud of. It's your Freedom from Pain kit. And you can go to theouchdoctors.com and you can put your email in there, and you can get the free download of the Your Freedom from Pain kit. And we're so proud of that. And there's 3 parts to it that are awesome. It's a flow chart, because I know this can be confusing. This mind-body pain relief biz can be complicated. And we've kind of broached, even just in the last 2 weeks, a lot of different things. We don't want to overwhelm people. So the flow chart is going to take all that stress and strain about how to do this yourself at home. All the definitions are going to be there, the terms, and then what puts it all together, the third part of the kit is the 15-day or the 14-day challenge. I love challenges. They're good for my head. It's doable, a 2-week time period, and you can potentially have your pain in those 14 days. We teach you everything you need to know. Just go on to theouchdoctors.com, stick in your email, and you have access to that. And I will say, as we've said last week, it's not going to be free forever. Jump on it while it's free. We want to get that out there. We want people to start using it. So,
absolutely, Steve,
run with that ball, man.
Awesome. Well, this is so exciting for me. We've constructed this thing together in a relatively recently, but Dr. Tim and I have walked similar paths over the course of our careers, and it's been fascinating to get to know a little bit about the similarities as time's gone on. So I was a chiropractor since 1982. I went to New York Chiropractic College, and the reason for that was I was always envisioning myself as a pre-med student. I was a pre-med student at SUNY Albany, and I was studying biology, and I was intending to move on in that direction, although I didn't really have a good, clear sense of what that would look like, or what my practice might be, or what my specialty might be. It was just that part of me that felt like I needed to help people and make a difference that led me in that direction. I just always saw myself as a doctor. Well, I ended up taking a year off from college back in right after my sophomore year. And I traveled around the United States, and spent a number of months in various states. And along the way, I had an opportunity to spend a little time with a distant cousin of mine who was married to a chiropractor. Now, just like Dr. Tim, I had never heard of chiropractic before. It was the very first time I'd heard the word. And here's this guy, he's a chiropractor. I think I'd vaguely maybe heard, maybe that's a back doctor. That's all I knew. but it was kind of a new experience for me. And so I got to walk into this guy's office, Bruce Lipkowitz, I believe. I should remember his name. He was a life-changing person for me. Anyway, Bruce was really kind and generous with his time, and he allowed me to watch what he did. And he also did some testing on me, some muscle testing and joint testing, and was able to tell me so much about my body, about my physiology, about my challenges that nobody else had ever said to me. With, even with all the testing that gets done for us when we go to the doctor, they take our blood and they check our reflexes, but somehow just through the power of touch and a sensitivity and an understanding of physiology and an understanding of neurology, he was able to tell me things that nobody ever told me before and really helped me to get healthier in a very short period of time. And so I was hooked, and I went back home after my year off from college, and I went right back with the intention of becoming a chiropractor. Took all the prerequisites, went to New York Chiropractic College, loved it, loved everything about it. I just ate everything up. I was the valedictorian of my chiropractic class. And as soon as I finished up school, I moved up to Vermont with my brand new wife, Nancy, who was also at chiropractic college, and we met there. And so while we were finishing up college, we were starting to contemplate, where do we want to be? What do we want to do? And so we decided, let's start exploring the country. Let's find the place that really suits our kind of lifestyle choices. And we found ourselves up to Burlington, Vermont, which was just absolutely beautiful. Set up a practice and very quickly discovered that it doesn't matter if you're the valedictorian of your class, because it doesn't really have much impact on the quality of your practice. It may have an impact on the quality of your care, but as far as how a practice runs and the business aspect of it, I didn't know very much, and I learned that very quickly. And so I had the perhaps wisdom or perhaps luck to be introduced to and to take advantage of a practice management company, where I learned a lot of the communication skills and a lot of the business skills about how to run a practice, which once I learned that stuff, those were very general principles about what it is to be successful. And that became a big part of my practice. And so I built a much bigger practice. I built pretty much the biggest sports medicine practice in the state of Vermont over the course of just another couple of years. Was able to clear out several $100,000 worth of student debt and begin having a practice that really sustained itself, and that for a number of years I enjoyed having. Somewhere along the line, I started noticing as a sports medicine doctor that if you want to really make an impact on your athletic patients, it's not enough to treat their physical symptoms. Right, Dr. Tim? Because you could do everything you can to like get somebody out of pain and maybe change the mobility of joints. But if you're working with athletes who are all about peak performance and fitness, then you've got to be able to offer them something else. And what that something else is for particularly elite athletes is mindset. And so I learned something about hypnosis. I'd done the Tony Robbins work. I did the fire walk and all that. And I really felt very strongly about the importance of mindset in terms of a number of things. First of all, being a better athlete. Being able to stay focused on the goal, being able to think more quickly, being able to be aware of your peripheral experience so that, when somebody's coming up on you, you see it and you can dodge and you've got better reflexes. And so we also know that people who are exposed to the kinds of work that I started doing, the mindset work, are also very quick to heal. They heal much more quickly. And there's a lot of research on that now. And it fascinated me. I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. People are getting better more quickly. They're then doing what they do better. They're feeling they have a better attitude, and their overall well-being is increased. So this is good stuff. And I continued to do that for a number of years. And after, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years, my passion shifted more toward personal development than toward physical medicine. Although I was still running a practice, I took on a second interest, and I started creating seminars. And I had a partner at the time, a romantic partner who was also in the world of social services, knew a lot about communication and about personal responsibility and about resilience and stress reduction. Very, very bright woman. And we co-created our first seminar in 1989, I believe. And at that point, we had a seminar. It was called How to Be Honest Without Alienating Everyone You Know, which I still think is one of the best names ever. And we ran that seminar. We put several hundred people through the seminar. teaching them very important communication skills, assertiveness training, understanding how to deal with difficult people, and a lot of really important things about life that most of what I was doing before wasn't really teaching anybody. And so I was fascinated by it. That ended because the relationship ended, and I ended up putting that aside and trying to re-engage more of my energy into my practice. Did it for a while. After a while, I started getting kind of didn't have as much momentum or enthusiasm for the practice. And so I would go to chiropractic seminars again and try to pump up my enthusiasm. And I did that a few cycles. And what happened was I was finding the cycles were getting shorter and shorter. In other words, I'd get enthusiastic and then I'd go back to my practice. And for a combination of reasons, I would find myself getting bored, getting frustrated, getting irritated. And there were a lot of things happening in the profession at the time in terms of, like, we were starting to be under insurance, and then the insurance regulations started getting prohibitive and obnoxious. I had some staff issues, and all these things started to conspire to make practice less fun. And I tried to maintain my enthusiasm for it. And each time I did, I was finding the signs were not good. I'd go into work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 9 o'clock, I would have already looked at my watch maybe 10 times. That's not a good sign.
Not at all, Dr. Steve.
I knew there was something else calling to me, and I wasn't sure quite what it was. But one day I was sitting in a chiropractic seminar, and the speaker was Joe Felicia. You probably remember Joe, Dr. Tim. He was a very motivational guy, and he'd had everybody in the room stirred into a frenzy about how great it is to be a chiropractor. And I wanted to have that enthusiasm because I did believe that chiropractic, and I still do, a great profession. But I didn't have the enthusiasm. I wanted it. I couldn't find it. And I was sitting there, and there wasn't any more enthusiastic producing place to be than there. And I still didn't feel it. And so I literally picked up a chiropractic magazine from the table in front of me, and I turned to the back, and I found a company that assesses practices for sale. And I got up out of my seat and I went to a payphone, and I said, I'm selling my practice. And it was that quick. And I knew it was time. Like, the time had come. I needed to move on. I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I needed to move on. And so I did. And I sold my practice. And about a year later, I was done with my chiropractic practice, spent a little time doing some practice coverage for friends and colleagues of mine. And then I ended up leaving and going to Guatemala. Spent about 3 months in Central America, traveling, learning Spanish, having a vision quest. And when I came back from that trip, and it was a remarkable trip with amazing stories behind it. But when I came back from that trip, I discovered that there was an opportunity to learn how to do hypnosis. Now, hypnosis was a little bit of what I'd already been doing in my practice, because there's a hypnotic process that I would use to help my athletes focus and to help them heal more quickly, power of visualization and things of that sort. And so all of my interest was in that area, the area of mind, body. How do our minds affect our body? How do they affect our outcomes? I ended up studying hypnosis, and before I even did any therapeutic hypnosis, I became a very popular stage hypnotist. And if you've ever seen that, you know it's really funny. And so I continued doing these shows all over the country, and I got popular enough that I was the official hypnotist for MTV Spring Break. Dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And one year I was doing a show in Jamaica. And while I had all the people on stage and I had them milking a cow and conducting an orchestra, I've got one guy thinks he's pregnant. Got another guy thinks he's the father. And then in the middle of the show, I decided to try something new. So I take one of my subjects and I say, when you wake up, 3 things are going to happen. I said, number 1, you don't believe you're hypnotized, even though you are. I said, number 2, this is the worst show you've ever seen and you were aggravated with me. And I said, number 3, there's an invisible wall 3 feet in front of you. So I woke everybody up. I said, how's everybody doing? And that guy screams, you suck. I said, what's the problem? He says, the show's terrible. I said, well, leave. Guy gets up. He takes 3 steps and he hits the wall. And he starts to push and push, and he can't get through it. He exhausts himself. He finally sits back down and he crosses his arms and he starts to pout. Yes. I said, what's the problem? He goes, nothing. I said, are you hypnotized? He goes, no. I said, are you having fun? He says, no. I said, well, then why don't you leave? And he thinks for a minute and he says, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. And in that moment, I realized something profound, which is that's all of us, right? We all have a place we want to go, a hope, a dream, a desire, a goal. And we start moving towards it, and then we hit our invisible walls. And we try to use pressure and effort, like the way he did, to get through them, but that doesn't work because we're pushing against our own beliefs, our own selves. And so the only way to get out of that is to wake up. Like he had to wake up from hypnosis in order to realize there was no wall. And I started to apply that to everything. And I realized that's how we live our lives, behind invisible walls that are constructed of our own subconscious beliefs. And when we overcome those subconscious beliefs, we have the capacity to keep moving forward toward our goals. Yes, Dr. Tim.
I just have a burning question.
Shoot.
These invisible walls, are they involved with people who have chronic pain too, do you think?
Well, they do. And this is where we're going, because suddenly I started to discover something fascinating, which is that the walls exist at some, let's say, at some distance from the core of who you are. So there's the essence of you, the essential you that wants to express itself in the world and achieve some great goal. And for some people, they can move a certain distance toward that goal, and then they hit their invisible wall, which maybe is that they're being blocked at some point in their financial well-being. For other people, they may get further before they hit their wall. You see, everybody's got walls, everybody. But the question is, how close are those walls to you, right? Because if the walls are close enough, what you're going to have is chronic pain and anxiety. Because when you're that claustrophobic inside of yourself, when you have that little wiggle room and breathing room to move from your intended desires toward your intended goal, or from your essence toward your intended goals, if you hit the walls that quickly, you frustrate yourself more quickly, you exhaust yourself more quickly, you develop higher levels of stress, and lo and behold, you start to develop coping patterns. Perhaps, your anxiety is such that you can't do certain things, but you don't want to admit it psychologically. So your body starts to collapse in on itself and you start to have pain. So now the work that I do over the course of the last several years has been about every wall you might have. That means if you're trying to have a life of absolute joy and prosperity, let's find where the walls are. And if you are so caught in that small container where there's chronic pain and anxiety, the first walls we need to remove are the ones that have got you stuck inside of that very miserable degree of suffering. And lo and behold, when we start to lift those walls, and this is where mindfulness and hypnosis and mindset management come in, and then we start to give you some lifestyle tools so you can move further toward your goals. And now maybe you find another wall out there. Well, now you've got us coaches. You've got people like Dr. Tim and I who are able to notice things that you can't possibly notice about yourself because you can't see your own walls any more than the fish in the water sees the water.
Right.
It's completely surrounded by the water, but it doesn't see it. And so we don't have the capacity without a great deal of deep, deep work to recognize where those walls are. But I can promise you from the work that I've been doing, that Dr. Tim has been doing, that we now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is your subconscious mind which has constructed the walls. And your subconscious mind, when those walls are close in towards you, is causing you to have chronic pain and anxiety in one form or another. And what we are going to do is to help you lift and remove those walls, break through those walls. And how? By waking up. Because you see, we're all hypnotized. That's the thing. We were all programmed somewhere in life. And if you think about your life and what you were taught growing up, and maybe you were bullied, and maybe you had a dysfunctional family growing up, and maybe you were beating up on yourself for no reason, all of those things have become habituated so much so that you don't even know that they're internalized in your body and that you're identified with them. So we need to get in there. We need to dismantle those walls, those subconscious principles, kind of patterns, so that you get some ease and some capability to move beyond them. And so I think that pretty much brings me to where I might share a tool with you guys.
Can I just say one thing? That's
Please.
Another burning question I have.
Yeah, please.
With the subconscious and the relationship between the subconscious and these invisible walls, would you agree that some of that background stuff can come from our past, maybe some trauma in our past,
yeah,
or difficulties, but also from present stress that we're living through, like you mentioned, financial or family or any other kind of common stress, or COVID or whatever we're going on right at this moment. But also, isn't anxiety stress about the future, stress about something that hasn't even happened? So we have the past with the present and the anticipation of stress in the future. All those can combine to reinforce these invisible walls in our subconscious. Am I on the right track there, Dr. Steve?
Oh, you are. And also bear in mind that once you've developed a certain way of dealing with things, a certain pattern of dealing with things that are stressful to you, that pattern plays into every subsequent stress, which basically means that you don't necessarily have to feel the stress about COVID, for example, that you might be feeling, but it's already being kind of locked into a pattern you already have, right? So it's not the stress, the individual experiences are just triggers for how your body is reacting. They are not the reason your body is reacting that way. They have to do with those neural nets we talked about in previous episodes, where your brain has been programmed. There are tracks in your brain that your thoughts follow those same tracks. And if something else comes along that's stressful, it follows the same track. We've got to break that track. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if it's past, present, or future, because quite frankly, it really never is present. Even if there's something going on now, the stress is about what's this present circumstance going to do to me in the future.
Huge.
Yeah. So having said that, I'd like to share, by the way, we have a comment here. Who's there? Somebody with us?
There's
Nancy's here. Hi, Nancy. Awesome. Pleasure to see you. So here's a technique that I want to share with you. And it's funny that Nancy's here, because if you don't mind, Nancy, I'm going to share that we used this technique with you just the other day. And it wasn't for physical pain, it was for emotional pain. But quite frankly, physical and emotional pain behave very much the same way. And one affects the other in ways that are almost impossible to tear apart from each other. But the technique is called out of your head and into your body. Out of your head and into your body. Okay. Most of the pain you're experiencing, whether it's physical or emotional, is in your head. Well, it is. Let's clarify this so you don't think I'm saying it's in your head like it's an illusion. What I'm saying is that you're in pain, and then you think about the fact that you're in pain, and then you cause yourself to suffer about the fact that you're in pain because you're upset about the fact that you're in pain. So you're in pain about being in pain, and that causes more pain. And so you've got to be even more pain about being in pain, about being in pain, about being in pain. And so there's this vicious cycle that plays out, whether it's an emotional or a physical phenomenon. And so what we need to do is we need to block the ongoing thought. We need to get you out of your head and into your body. So what I recommended for Nancy in her particular situation had to do with worry. She was stuck in a worry pattern. How do you break the worry pattern? Well, instead of thinking about what you're worried about, you turn your attention to your physical body. Where do I feel worry in my body? What does worry feel like? What would I compare it to? What's the color of it? What's the shape of it? You create a physical experience of what that feeling has created. And this works just as well, whether it's an emotional thing, or let's say you've got arthritis in your knee. Well, you could be thinking about the arthritis in the knee. When is this ever going to go away? This is so frustrating. What's wrong with me? But that's what you want to block, right? You want to just bring your attention to the knee, out of your head into your body. What does this knee pain feel like? Where do I feel it? How big is it? Is it changing as I look at it? Is it hot? Is it cold? You develop this very backstage process of being able to look at the pain as if you were a scientist looking inside a test tube. And it's that out of your head, not thinking about it, not having a single thought about it, but practicing the art of just non-judgmentally being aware of the sensation. And it is a profound experience, because in my work as a hypnotist, I'll take people who are experiencing massive phobias. They're afraid of snakes, they're afraid of spiders, right? And that's a pain too. If you're near the thing, you're feeling an emotional pain. And I've done this before. We've brought a snake up on stage. We've had people run away because of the snake on stage. And then I'll put it back in hypnosis and I'll have them do exactly that. Okay, you are seeing a snake. What are you feeling? I'm feeling pain. Where do you feel it? Imagine that feeling is like a bundle or a package inside of your body. Now watch that pain as it starts to get, that bundle as it starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually you just throw it away. And then we bring the snake up and they hold the snake. And it's instantaneous. And this can happen with your pain. And this can happen with your anxiety. And this can happen with your worry. So it's such a profound tip that, not that you're necessarily going to get it right the first time, but my one big tip for today is that you start practicing the art of non-judgmentally noticing and being aware of whatever the sensation is that's troubling you, and seeing if you could just sort of play with it and observe it and maybe watch it change, rather than having any thoughts or judgments about it. You got to break that cycle. If you want to break that cycle, your life will change. And for me, having spent the last 30 years of my life walking this path from just physical medicine, chiropractic. And you and I, Dr. Tim, both know that there are clients, patients that we've had who you can't get them better.
Right.
You could treat them, but then they come back again with the same problem. And why? Well, because of habits. Now, some of them are mental habits, some of them are physical habits. The body has developed a certain way of behaving. But if we don't address those, then quite often we're still playing at the level of symptoms rather than the level of cause. Chiropractic, by and large, is a very cause-based treatment modality, and it's wonderful, and it's certainly better than taking drugs. Because it's actually going to the underlying cause of the pain or the dysfunction. But what's the underlying cause of the subluxation? That is the misalignment of the spine or the lack of function of the spine in the first place. And
that's
again,
interesting, really interesting. So I think that's where both Dr. Steve and I have elected to put all our professional energies in, and it's such an exciting place to be.
That's right. That's right. So I think we're running out of time here. I hope that that's been valuable to you guys. It's been so much fun. Before we go, Dr. Tim, could you say a little bit about our program? I want people to know about that.
Our program, meaning our coaching program?
Freebie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swap out my screen here, if I could.
Okay, sure.
Damn, where is it?
It's hiding. Well, while you're swapping, I'll talk. So, guys, as Dr. Tim mentioned, here we go. We're almost there now.
Steve, keep talking.
Okay, there we go. We decided that, we want as much as possible to put the power in your hands, because we believe that you're capable of doing a lion's share of the work of getting yourself out of pain and dysfunction if you understand what to do, but not just what to do, but when to do it. And so we've created the Freedom from Pain Kit, which, as Dr. Tim said, is 3 sections, and he's going to scroll you through it here real quickly. And you can see that the program involves having you start using a flow chart. Now, flow charts are awesome because they're a great way for you to see exactly what to do and in what order, and how to measure the success of each step along the way. So there's nothing much better than this for getting you empowered about getting the results you want. And then, of course, we're going to take you through some other tools and tips and give you the terms on the flow chart so that you truly understand what they are, and that you can start to use them to the best of your advantage, because we want you doing these things in their order. And then lastly, we want you to take all that and we want you to enter into our 14-day challenge. This is your challenge. You're challenging yourself over the course of 14 days to do the various strategies in the order we tell you, and to check them off as you do them, and then to assess your pain level and see what happens in 14 days. We've seen an average of about 50% reduction in pain for people who take this approach. Now, again, completely free. This is our gift to you. Eventually it won't be. So please grab it and tell other people about it. Please, there's no rules about who gets this. So get the word out there. Let people have this. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Steve. And boy, I could keep going on, but I think we're kind of getting run out of time. Can I just say that tomorrow's show, and Steve, it was great hearing your story today. So inspiring, and it's so cool that we're both ended up in the same place. And I really love that we're both coming from a mission-based philosophy. We want to help people as much as possible. And I think both of us went from a one-on-one method, which is the practice of chiropractic. We both love that. But now we just realize that there's a bigger calling. There's a bigger audience. There's a lot more people that we would never meet and come in contact with if we were just working in our individual offices, he in Vermont, me in Rhode Island, on a one-on-one basis. This message is too big and too important to go one-on-one. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Yes. So get involved and stay involved. And tomorrow's show is going to be entitled Motion is Lotion, the importance of moving your body in chronic pain relief. So I'm really excited about talking about that. And our famous catchphrase, Steve, let's lay into it. Train your brain, lose your pain.
That wasn't bad. See you guys later.